So thank you, Catherine, and thank you for the invitation to this symposium. This particular talk is in this talk, what I'm going to really describe is who we are and what we do at this organization called Sangat that I work in, the context of where we work, and the innovations that we've really taken to work in India as well as in other low resource settings. So Sangat is a not-for-profit, and we've just entering our 25th year. We started off as a child development center, but we then transformed ourselves into a public health research not-for-profit. And really, the reason for this I'm going to be talking about the reason for this, but what we do really is we aim at designing and evaluating innovations to support children's health, developmental disabilities, adolescent health, and mental health across the life course. As you can see, we work in multiple locations within the context of India, though our main center is in Goa on the western coast of India. So I think the first thing for people to understand why we do what we do is really to understand the context of India. We are 1.3 billion people, a third of whom are children. And this map, in some ways, really, it's a little small. I'm not sure whether everybody can see it very well. But what it is describing in this map is it's placing populations of different countries within the context of the borders of India. And if you see the pink patch, that actually represents the whole population of the United Kingdom. So you can see that when we have a large number of people, we have a large number of children, and a prevalence study that we did in 2018 actually told us that we have 12% disability. What this now gives us is 1% of autism, which really means that we have 2 million children with autism in the age group of 2 to 9 years, most of whom live in rural areas. So this is the magnitude of children that we have to provide interventions for. In Sangat, what we've been doing is we've been doing a systematic exploration since 2006, really trying to understand the experiences of families. And as you can see, we've had a number of funders who've supported this work. So the first part of my, so this particular slide was the first real public health research that we did. And it was really exploring the experiences of families of children with autism in the context of India. And I think many of you will be familiar with these experiences. So this is a mother who really says that when I came to know about the diagnosis of autism, it was a shock to me. My husband went totally mad. Another mother makes a statement that in the office, my work wasn't up to it, and I had to leave my job. A third described how her other child, her typically developing child, said to her, "Mama, you spend so much time with him and not with me." In the context of Goa, where we work, we have a significant number of families who are Christian, and this mother describes how I cannot go to church because he screams and shouts, and that is the place where you have to be quiet and calm. And finally, here are words of a father who describes these particular words about his son. When he was 6 years old, he had this problem. At the center, they told us there was no need for giving him tablets. He only requires to be given speech therapy. However, it was not possible to go every day, so we went only for a few days. And so looking at this, the multiplicity and the diversity of family experiences, we really thought as an organization, which are the issues that we can address? And the one that we felt we could address was really the father's words at the bottom. And keeping this in mind, we kind of looked at the experiences of family assessing care. So really what we found is that in terms of seeking care, what families seek are really two main challenges. One is accessibility and the other is the evidence-based. And within accessibility, what families seem to spend a significant amount of time was to try and get to center-based services. And with respect to evidence-based care, families really had no access to these therapies that we know can help young children and improve their developmental trajectory over time. So with these problems and Sangat really went trying to innovate for solutions. And we thought we should answer 4 questions. And these 4 questions were, what do we deliver? Which is the intervention we should deliver? Who would deliver this intervention? Where should we deliver this intervention? And how do we maintain quality at scale? So the first question was which intervention, and we were very lucky that we came upon PACT. And I'm not going to talk much about this because you've had a whole morning symposium around this. But what I will mention here is that these were certain aspects of the PACT intervention that really attracted us. It's low intensity intervention, the fact that it was parent mediated, and I'm going to come back to that aspect. But I think really the critical aspect of this intervention was the team that led this intervention and their ability to actually open the intervention, to hand it over to us in some ways, and to trust our ideas and our unusual methods that we really wanted to use going forwards. The next question we wanted to answer was who was going to deliver these interventions. Now, in India, as I mentioned, we have 1.3 billion people. And if we consider what the WHO recommends, we should have almost 150,000 psychiatrists. But what we have in the country is only just 3,500. So you can see we have a real lack of specialists. And when we think of specialists who we need for the context of families of children with autism, these are even a rarer and scarcer resource. So what Sangat has been doing in this context, we've been doing it a lot with adult mental health, was this idea of task sharing. And what this means is it's a strategy of rational redistribution of tasks among the health workforce teams. And what we do is that specific tasks are moved where appropriate from very highly qualified health workers to health workers with shorter training and fewer qualifications in order to make more efficient use of the available human resources for health. So what we have is a highly qualified health worker, so say a speech and language therapist. And what we do is we then identify skilled health workers who we train up and we hand over certain tasks to them. But these tasks are always managed under supervision. So it's not that these skilled health workers work independently. The how of this was really very important. And I think we're kind of quite happy about this training and supervision cascade that we have evolved and developed. And this is where the idea that parent-mediated interventions are really amenable to task sharing is important to understand, is because what happens is the developmental specialist, like somebody like me, trains up a clinical psychologist or an intervention coordinator. They then train up the non-specialist worker, who then works directly with the parent. And what is important over here to see is that the non-specialist does not actually work with the child with autism. And the advantage of this means that the non-specialist does not have to be an autism expert. What they need to be is an intervention expert. And this we do by creating systems to build and maintain competencies of this particular worker. So what we did in India and through Sangat was that we adapted the intervention to our context. We did this in both Pakistan and India. And then we realized that our families, because they had really no access to non-specialists, often required support for other problems, coexisting problems, sleep problems, feeding problems. And so we expanded the intervention. And so now we have what we call the PASS Plus intervention. The first has been trialed both in India and Pakistan, and the second only in India. I'm not going to spend too much time on this very technical slide, but what it really shows is that both our pilot trials were successful. And what we found is that we really seem to make change in parent synchrony as well as child initiations, which gave us the impetus to really test this out at a larger scale. So what were the conclusions from these two pilot trials? The first conclusion was that the Pass Plus intervention is amenable to task sharing, which is very important for us. The second is that it showed promising results. The next is that the home delivery model is acceptable to most families, both urban and rural. And lastly, the fidelity of the intervention was maintained by the non-specialists. So very important also, because this is really what is essential. So what are we doing now? We're in the midst of what we call a definitive trial, or the Compass program. This is a collaboration between Manchester, the University of Manchester, Catherine and Jonathan's team, Sangat, Harvard Medical School and King's College London, and has been funded by the Medical Research Council of the UK. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to go the next step. And what we did in the first two trials, we had project workers who we trained. This particular trial, we're really thinking about who do we actually have in the community. If we really want to scale up this intervention, who should be delivering this intervention? And we have a number of frontline workers in the context of India. And the person we have identified is called the ASHA, or Accredited Social Health Activist, who we have identified as the worker working within the health system, we are going to be training up now. So what are we doing in Compass? What we're trying to determine is, can this particular cadre of frontline worker deliver this intervention well? And if they do it well, how does it compare to center-based treatments? We've started the project itself started in 2018, but since earlier last year in January, we've been really having a number of engagement meetings. We've identified frontline workers who can be trained. We've been doing internships for them, so they've been with practice cases. We've been supporting them in supervision, conducting refresher trainings, and when they get to a certain level of quality in terms of their delivery, we then conduct a competency assessment so that they can go into the trial. This trial actually started in December. But as you all know, we've had an event that has happened, which is the COVID pandemic. And so now we are adapting around the COVID pandemic. Before I end with my last couple of slides, these are videos of the ASHA worker actually delivering the intervention. It's not subtitled or dubbed, so I'm just going to give you a little idea of what's going on in the videos. So here is the ASHA worker talking to the mother. She's coming after her 15 days. She's asking the mother how things have progressed, what has the mother felt about the strategy she's put in place, what did she do, how did she play with her son. This is now in the structure of PASS, which is very much the packed structure. These are the toys which are brought into the house for the child and mother to play with. This is another health worker who is now actually discussing after the play session what the mother felt and how she felt the play session had progressed. We are using we are using smartphones. And here the health worker is reviewing the video with the mother. And as you can see, her son with autism, who has just been videoed, is also quite interested. But this is the way video feedback is conducted. And you'll glimpse a few more workers conducting video feedback. Here is another mom having a look at her video, and the health worker really asking her what she feels about what's happening in particular sections of the video. And again, this is another health worker in another household. And really what I would like, in some ways, what I'm trying to show you is that we're working in very diverse settings and households. This is in New Delhi at this point. in urban households of varying socioeconomic backgrounds. Another question that we're really thinking about, again, considering the scale that we have to deliver this intervention at, is how do we build and maintain a competent workforce at scale? And keeping this in mind, at Sangat, we've been developing a digital platform. And through this digital platform, we're trying to combine the idea of e-learning to a space where a forum where peers can work and discuss cases and be supervised, as well as within the context of this platform to be actually able to deliver the intervention. So there are prompts, there are forms, and the video itself is taken within this digital app. So that's my last slide, and I just would really like to thank, first of all, the organizers, but also acknowledge the mentorship that we get from Jonathan and his team, and also the funders who have really taken a leap of faith to support this very innovative work in India. Thank you.